We begin today with breaking news out of Florida, where a judge has unsealed the redacted affidavit for that FBI search of the former President Trump's home. NewsNation correspondent Brooke Shafer is live outside of Mar-a-Lago. And Brooke, that affidavit is heavily redacted. So were we able to learn anything new?
We learned some new information, Nichole, but again, as you mentioned, a lot of it was really blacked or taken out. We got two sets of documents today. The first one explained the reasons for the redactions. We know the Department of Justice has said it has some serious concerns about compromising its investigation. Then we got the document we have been waiting for. This is the affidavit for the search of Mar-a-Lago. But again, as we have been saying, it was expected to be heavily redacted, and it is. There are several pages like this one completely blacked out.
In a newly unsealed, redacted affidavit, we've learned some new details in the FBI search of former President Trump's Florida home, like new information surrounding the 15 boxes the Trump team returned to the National Archives from Mar-a-Lago in January. The 38-page affidavit says in 14 of those 15 boxes, FBI agents found 184 classified documents, including 67 documents marked as confidential, 92 marked as secret, and 25 documents marked as top secret. The affidavit, written before the August 8th search, also lays out the reasons the Justice Department felt there were more classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. But those paragraphs are completely blacked out.
Did we really learn a lot of new information from this redacted affidavit?
We're now left with most of the same questions that we had before, probably some more questions with a heightened level of scrutiny on this.
The heavily redacted document also explains the National Archives requested the DOJ get involved after, quote, significant concern highly classified documents were mixed in with other records like newspapers and photos. On social media today, Trump pushed back, calling the search of Mar-a-Lago a, quote, political attack.
I did nothing wrong, and it's the exact same thing here. We were essentially attacked. We were broken into.
Before today, we already knew agents took 11 sets of classified documents during the August 8th search, including some marked at a top secret level, according to the property receipt. What the redacted affidavit doesn't answer is what specifically triggered the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. President Joe Biden has said he had no advance warning of the search, and today was asked if it's ever okay for a president to take home classified material.
Depending on the circumstance, I'm taking home with me today today's PDD. It's locked. I have a person with me, military with me. I read it, I lock it back up, and give it to the military.
All right, one more thing we did learn here when we're talking about the probable cause, the reasons the Department of Justice thought a search of Mar-a-Lago was justified. Again, this portion of the affidavit completely blacked out for several pages. I talked to an attorney who said that leads him to believe they were talking to witnesses. Nichole?
All right, Brooke Shafer in Florida, thank you. Joining our conversation now is David Weinstein, former federal prosecutor, current partner at Jones Walker. David, thanks for being here. You know, you've read through this entire redacted affidavit. When we spoke with you a few days ago, you did say a lot of it would be blacked out as expected. It is. So what is your biggest takeaway here?
Well, my biggest takeaway is that we know when it started, why it started, the fact that the National Archives referred this to the Bureau and to DOJ because they found classified documents. We also know that they gave the judge the good, the bad, and the ugly. Much of what the former president has been saying in the parallel case is that the judge didn't know everything. Well, they told the judge who was reviewing this that they declassified documents. DOJ didn't believe that, but they told the judge that. They also were aware, DOJ, that there might be a claim of attorney-client privileged information here, so they set up their own system to make sure that no privileged information would go to law enforcement. Again, something that the former president's team's been asking for. And so, like any other litigant, you take privileged materials, give them back to that person, and then they have to say why it's privileged. So we did learn quite a few things. There are more within there. It's not necessarily the big, huge, bountiful platter that we all had hoped it would be, but there's an indication as to the fact that there was proof that documents were removed, that they were not kept in a secure location. It describes what a secure location must be. And Mar-a-Lago is not a secure location by any standard. It talks about the fact that these documents are not just classified, but rather top secret, could contain potential human source information, touch on information that shouldn't be released to foreign nationals, national security, defense intelligence. And it also tells us that at some level, at some point in time, the former president did in fact review and look at some of these classified documents because they found his handwriting on it. Now that in and of itself is an alteration. That's not necessarily the largest charge out there, but it certainly shows that at some point in time, the former president touched these documents. It also tells us that they're not just looking at one person, they're looking at anybody who may have aided, abetted, conspired with the movement of these documents. And it's not just the fact that they were moved, but they were moved and then kept in a non-secure location. So we do know quite a bit more. We don't know what the end result is. We don't know names of witnesses, what they testified about, or even when this will all be over. But we now have a more level playing field to know what the actual facts are, so we don't have to guess and hypothecate. We know the number of documents that were taken and the fact that the National Archives found them just scattered within presidential papers.
All right, David, so we do know more. We certainly don't know all at this point. Is there a process for Trump's team to try and challenge this, maybe get the full unredacted document released? If so, would it have to go all the way to the Supreme Court? Or would his team even want this full unredacted affidavit released?
Well, you know what they say, be careful what you ask for. You might be afraid what you get. They've already gotten a lot of information that, quite frankly, does not benefit them. It paints a pretty bad picture of what was taking place. For him to challenge what was taken, they're going to have to let the process play out. This is not the time for a motion to suppress because there's no evidence that's being introduced in a formal charging situation. They would have to wait for a formal charge to be filed and then for the government to rely on some of this information to have filed those charges. And that's where your motion to suppress takes place. So it's a little premature again. Now, all of this is premature and unusual. It's very rare for a document like this to be unsealed in the early stages of an investigation.
Interesting. Yeah, we will certainly be waiting to see what happens next. All right, David Weinstein, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.